housemoney.media.
Welcome to Real Estate Maximalist. I'm your host, Alan Corey. I've been teaching real estate for over 20 years, and I've published 3 books on the subject, and I just love the passion that you're going to pick up from the guest today. Jordan Santiago, his story is amazing. Jordan started in real estate at the age of 19, got his first deal done at 19, if you can believe that. And now, just 5 years later, he's grown an empire through a real estate strategy called wholesaling, which you're going to want to learn, because if you have no money to invest in real estate, wholesaling is going to be one of the easiest ways to get started. Jordan Santiago today walks us through step by step what he did to create his wholesaling empire and what you should be doing and how he runs his numbers. Also, for my listeners who wait till the end, I have a surprise giveaway, so stay tuned and learn about how you can participate in that. First, a word from our sponsors.
Hey everyone, this is Dana Dunford over at Hemlane. We are here in the property management space to help you. We offer hybrid property management, everything from software to offering something more full service, from 24/7 repair coordination to helping you find and place a tenant. If you're interested in learning more, please go to www.hemlane.com/Maxi. That is hemlane.com/Maxi. HEMLANE.com/MAXI.
Where did you first get the real estate bug?
So just to make a long story short, I actually went straight out of high school. I had the opportunity to be drafted to the Detroit Tigers, the MLB team. Straight out of high school, I chose to go to college to try to increase my draft stock, to try to get more money once I did get drafted. And then I realized I just didn't love baseball that much. I couldn't see myself doing it every single day, which was crazy because I kind of banked my whole life on becoming a professional baseball player. So once that kind of went out the window, I was stuck on, I don't know what to do, right? But I always knew, especially trying to be a professional athlete, I always knew I wanted to be wealthy. Number one for me was always take care of my family, right? So I knew I really couldn't, and I didn't want to get a job. So the craziest way I found real estate is I literally Googled, I think I was 18 years old at the time. I Googled how to make $1 million in a year. And the first thing that popped up was real estate.
I find that people who excel at something, whether it's in high school, college, a sport is great. Maybe it's an instrument. You put in the reps, you put in the hard work, and you see the results of that. And when you start doing that skill that got you so far in your childhood and you apply it as an adult to real estate, it's almost like the path just lays out for you. It's almost so easy to be successful because it's not a skill set to succeed in real estate. It's a falling in love with the process. It's showing up, the discipline, the working hard. So I don't know. Do you see those parallels?
I always say that sports and entrepreneurship, or I would say sports helps you in entrepreneurship. So if you are a part of, whether it's individual, but I would say even more so a team sport, it helps so much because constantly day in and day out, you're putting in work and you're seeing small results, but you have an end goal, right? So when you are putting in that work or those reps every single day, you're not seeing the end goal yet, but you're working towards it, right? And it's the same way in entrepreneurship, where you can go days where it's really dark, depressing, bad days. You really can't see the end, or you're just working towards the goal, and it could take 5, 10, 15 years, right? But knowing that day in and day out, when you're putting in that work, that it is going to reward you at the end, having that mindset, right, and going through it in sports really just translates over huge in entrepreneurship. So the transition for me, not only because the vision I was able to see, but the work ethic kind of translates over too. You know, if you're playing sports at a high level, I mean, your work ethic has to be top notch. So when it comes to entrepreneurship, real estate investing, things like that, it's not easy, right? A lot of people try to pitch it as easy. It's not easy. It's hard work. So all of that transferred over, and I would definitely credit sports to a lot of my success mentally and just in the field of entrepreneurship.
I love that so many real estate investors have a similar story. They were doing something they weren't passionate about, but They found a new burning passion through real estate. So if you're working a 9-to-5 job right now, don't worry, you can still do real estate. And you can use the tools you use every day at your current job as leverage to be successful in real estate. So I asked Jordan, once you found real estate through your Google searches, did you just start immediately or did it take a while to build that motivation?
I kind of dove into it. I'm sure you were the same way. When you first get started, you kind of get obsessive about learning, right? I mean, I was just nonstop articles, listening to, YouTube videos, podcasts, trying to go to meetups, things like that. So once I was able to get in the proximity of people and really see the power of real estate, what it could do, and it kind of correlated with what I wanted, right? Was that wealth, was that financial freedom, was that ability to be able to take care of my parents and my family and things like that. I mean, once I realized like, okay, this is a proven vehicle for, centuries and centuries, and it's only getting better. I mean, I just became obsessed ever since, and I dove, straight in. I went to go get my license, but in the middle phase of me getting my license, I discovered what was, what is known as wholesaling real estate. And then I really dove into that. So I did get my license. I never used it, but it was such a good learning experience. But I really started diving into more so of the investing game from there on out.
So Jordan found a strategy of real estate investing called wholesaling. What this is you hustle, you look for the best deal, and then you get it under contract. And now what we haven't heard yet is Jordan started doing this at the age of 18. And he would go find wonderful deals, get it under contract, and then he would sell that contract to someone else. It's called wholesaling. You just assign the contract and you say, hey, I've got this house under contract for $100,000. I'm going to assign it to another buyer for $110,000. And when closing day comes, Jordan would get $10,000. It's basically a finder's fee, and that is the crux of wholesaling. And it's very, very popular if you don't have the money, but you do have the work ethic that Jordan does. And not only do you just have to be a deal finder, you have to start building a buyer's list. So when you do find a deal, you can send it out to that buyer's list and see if you get any bites.
Yeah, so I pivoted towards wholesaling because I thought it fit my lifestyle more, where you can kind of work from wherever. You don't have to be running around on listings. You really don't have a capped earning potential. You can work from home. I mean, it kind of fit more where I was at the time. So it was tough, man. It was really, really, really tough. I'm not going to lie to you. It took me about 10 months to get my first wholesale deal. I didn't have any money. I was completely broke, just completely broke. I didn't have a job. I wasn't going to school anymore. So I was in a position where I was just down. I was depressed, but I was trying to make something happen. So I was going full time with this. And in New York City, there's just a lot of sharks. There's a lot of big players in New York City. So for me, an 18, 19-year-old at the time, trying to find a discounted deal in New York City, it was tough, especially with no marketing budget. It was tough. I used to wake up every day and I used to go on Craigslist because, again, I didn't have any money to be paying for leads or a team. So I just had to find free methods. And I still kind of teach this today, too. I used to go on Craigslist, and there used to be either for sale by owners or other wholesalers posting deals, right? So when you get into wholesaling, you can make money without having the deal, okay? So basically what I said was, all right, I built up this nice size buyers list for the past 10 months. I can't get any deals myself. So I'm on Craigslist. I see a deal. Looks good. I click on it. It's another wholesaler. She's like, listen, I have this deal. I don't have a buyers list though. So right away, I'm like, this is perfect. So what do? I ask permission. Can I send this to some of my buyers? I might be able to have someone, purchase this from you. My buyer loves it. Boom. It took about, I would say, another 60 days for it to close. It was a $4,000 fee. We split it. $2,000 to me, $2,000 to her. I thought it felt like $1 million. It was just the greatest day because you have to validate it to yourself too, right? 10 months, you're like, is this ever even going to happen?
So how did you build up your buyers list?
I used to do this method, and it still works today too, where I would go on Craigslist and I would you could type in any city or county, right? So for me, it was Queens real estate wanted Craigslist. Those exact words. You could do, Atlanta real estate wanted Craigslist, anywhere. So I would go on those things, and buyers and other wholesalers would be posting, hey, I'll buy quick, all cash, close quick, stop foreclosure, all these things. So I was reaching out to all of these people, and I was just connecting, saying, hey, even though I wasn't, but I was saying, hey, I get discounted deals all the time. Can I add you to my buyers list? And I would do that every single day. And I would probably add maybe 1 or 2 people every single day. That, as long, coupled with Facebook groups as well, which again, still to this day, very effective. By the time like the 10 months was up, I mean, I had a few hundred buyers in New York City, so I built this nice sized buyers list that was kind of hungry for deals, and I wasn't providing them any, but that is how, I started building my buyers list.
I love that. And then, so this first property that you found on Craigslist, someone else's property, was it an apartment? Was it land?
So it was a single family in the Bronx, and it was still to this day, the only Bronx deal that I've ever done. It was a vacant property. It wasn't a full rehab. It obviously wasn't brand new either, though. It probably needed like $60,000, $70,000 worth of work. It was a larger property. It was a little over 2,000 square feet. But at the time, I didn't know anything about repair estimates. I'm just like, this looks like a good deal. I'm gonna shoot it over. But yeah, it was a single family in the Bronx. It was semi-attached. I think the purchase price on it was low. I think we wound up wholesaling it for $235, and I remember the guy putting in about $75,000 worth of work, and then he sold it somewhere in the fours. So he made a really good profit as well.
How did you recognize that was a deal to send to your buyers list?
At the time, I was just constantly watching YouTube videos on how to run comps and how to determine an ARV, right? Which is huge if you're going to get into wholesaling. Like, you need to know how to do that. It's a non-negotiable skill that you need. So I was practicing nonstop, because in the beginning, I was sending my buyers retail properties because I didn't understand the numbers game yet. So I was sending them a bunch of retail properties, and some of them were like, hey, stop sending me deals. I'm done with you, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, oh. But there was a few that knew I was, only 18 years old at the time, and they would call me or they would text me back and say, hey, this doesn't work because of this, right? So obviously, after me sending 20 to 30 deals and that happening over and over, plus watching these YouTube videos, I got good at identifying what I need to look at to determine an ARV, right?
So what Jordan is describing is ARV, after repair value. He's finding distressed properties, and he's got to make a bit of a guess on how much repair cost is going to be. And then he strategizes, looking at comps that he found online, of what the ARV value is going to be. Meaning, after this investor buys it and renovates it, what he or she could sell it for. He's trying to figure out that value, because that gets the attention of the buyers on his buyers list. And when he says he's sending deals at a retail value, that means it's market value. There's no discount there. There's no meat on the bone that's going to get any investor excited. So he had to learn that the hard way. And thankfully, some people on his buyers list gave him constructive feedback.
So an ARV is after repair value, right? So basically, the main thing that you have to look for is you have to look at comps, which are comparable properties that sold within that area. Okay, so if my property is a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,000 square feet, I want to be looking something that is similar to a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,000 square feet, right? So that's what I started doing, and I started doing it for free on Zillow, even though it's not the most accurate, but it was getting me in the ballpark. So when I saw the price that she was asking, I went and ran my own comps, right? And I got around 400. So I'm like, wow. She wants like 230 for this. That's a pretty big spread. So at that point, I was like, the light bulb went off, and I'm like, let me send this to my guys. I think this is something here.
How do you know how much to add to your spread?
I didn't even add anything on top. She had a $5,000 fee built in. She was like, hey, listen, you could add more on top, or you could sell it as is, right? And for me, I was like traumatized already for sending so many deals that were close to retail. I'm like, I don't even want to add anything on top. Like, let me just try to sell it as is, right? So I sold it. The buyer knocked me down $1,000. I don't know why, but I was just so ecstatic to see profit, see an assignment fee, that I was like, oh, let's do it. So we walked away with the $4,000, and it was the best.
Okay, great. So instant success over 10 months of hard work. Walk me through deal 2. How much longer was that?
So deal 2 was it actually wasn't too much longer, which is surprising. It was like 4 or 5 months, which is long, but to me, it wasn't that long. After
Half the time,
Yeah, it was half the time. So I'm like, oh, this is awesome. This is great. So I did the same exact thing. Okay. And it's a numbers game, because the Craigslist thing, it doesn't work a lot, right? You have to just be reaching out to a lot of people, but it's free. So I finally reached out to this guy. He's like, yeah, I have this property in Brooklyn. And at the time, my buyers were just like dying for stuff in Brooklyn. He's like, yeah, well, I'm renting it out to 12 former drug abusers. We got 12 to 15 of them in there right now. So I'm like, I've never dealt with anything like this before. This is my second deal, right? So I'm like, okay, well, what are you looking for? And I forgot the price. It was somewhere in the fours though. And I did the same thing. I went, I said, okay, let me get back to you. I went and I looked at what other properties in the area were selling for, similar properties. And it was like 650. So I said, okay, I think there's something here again. There's some spread. So I built up a really good relationship with one of my buyers. He was kind of like, he wasn't a mentor, but he was like helping me every now and then. So we got comfortable with each other. So I sent him the deal before I even had it locked up, which I don't recommend. Unless you could trust someone 1,000%, don't ever do that. So I sent him the deal because I felt like I could trust him, which he proved to be right. And he was like, oh, this is interesting. Can I get inside? So now we have 12 to 15 former drug users in the property.
Was this an official safe house or just roommates? Yeah, okay.
Yes,
okay.
yes. So he was getting paid handsomely for it too. It was a single family.
Wow.
So yeah, so he was allowed to do about 5 people in there. He obviously went overboard and he nearly tripled that, but he was getting paid. I mean, each person was paying like $250 a month. Okay, so he was getting paid very well. He was kind of like a slumlord type of guy, so he really didn't care. But I'm like, all right, let's try to get inside now. So actually, he got us inside. The guy liked the property, but what does he ask? He asked, I need this to be delivered vacant though. So he went back to the seller. I said, listen, I can get this sold for you right now. We'll close in 30 days, but I need this delivered vacant. We need to get these people out of here, unfortunately. We winded up settling for cash for keys, right? And if you don't know what that is, that's giving a tenant cash for them to give you the keys and they're going to vacate the property, right? So we winded up doing a cash for keys situation where we had to pay each one $500, which, obviously total over $5,000 we had to pay. So we went in, he put me in such bad situations. Some of the envelopes he gave me had wrong money in it. The people wanted to fight me. I'm like 19 years old. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. But we finally got them out. It was a full gut rehab. And on that one, I think I had it under contract for $430 and I wholesaled it for $435. So I made $5,000.
Wow, that's a lot of work. Where in Brooklyn?
It was East New York, but I don't remember exactly, the area where it was though.
Okay, so you doubled your money from your previous deal in half the time. And so you have a proven concept, you're building relationships, you're learning a lot. I got to tell you, it's hard to be a 19-year-old in any industry with these big dollar signs and having people take you seriously. That alone should be a confidence boosting for you. Where do you go from here?
Yeah, so from here, I hit a wall, man. I hit a wall. I struggled. I couldn't find any other deal. It was, I was on the brink, and this is, when I did those deals, 2018, and I'm talking about this bled into late 2019. 2019 as a whole, the whole year, I made $5,000 the whole year. Okay, I didn't have any extra jobs. I was doing this full time, and I did 2 deals 2019 for $2,500 each. I was broke. I just had nothing going. My break and my kind of light bulb moment came accidentally where a buddy of mine on a Facebook group said, hey, look, I'm running these Facebook ads. I'm very good at them, and they're bringing in leads, but I don't have the time because I have a 9 to 5. So I'm going to bring in the leads. Can you help close them? And then we'll split it 50-50.
Buyer leads, seller leads?
So these are seller leads, yeah. So we were looking for people that wanted to sell, right? So he's bringing in, he's running these Facebook ads that are kind of just advertising of, oh, you want to sell? We buy cash, we'll close as is, blah, blah, blah. So we would have sellers fill out that form, and then it would get sent to us. So he didn't have time to deal with those. So at the time, I'm like, I don't have any leads. I have no money at all. So yeah, for sure, I'll do it. So the only catch was these leads were in New Jersey. And at the time, like investing out of state for me was not, I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know that was a thing. So I'm like, wow, this is going to be really, really challenging. I'm going to have to drive back and forth all day. And then when it came to it, I think within 12, 13 leads, we got a quad under contract, and we had a buyer for it 3 days later for $20,000. $20,000 spread. So what happened to me was, okay, maybe I'm not so bad at this. Maybe it was the market I'm in, right? Maybe New York is just tough. So obviously we had that deal closed, and I said, I'm going to go into the New Jersey market. I'm going to try New Jersey. And once I did that and really went full time, that's when things exploded. That's when I started seeing a lot of success and started really kind of building that momentum.
So again, it's Jordan's work ethic, building lists in different states and finding opportunities and not quitting. When he mentioned you got to make sure that that property is secure, don't send it out unsecured. What he means is he has to get it under contract, because if he doesn't have the deal under contract, it's not his to assign. The person that you send it out to could just contact the owner directly and get it under contract and cut you out as the wholesaler. So how do you transition from wholesaling to owning property yourself?
It was a very quick turnaround. So late 2019, I'm over here struggling. And then late 2020, a year later, I bought a 5-unit apartment building in Florida. So I went from not understanding that investing out of state is a thing to buying a whole apartment building in Florida. At this point, 2020, I was 23 years old. I kind of built out my wholesale team now, right? Where we have cold callers calling motivated sellers. We're doing text blast. So we actually wholesaled this seller's first property. It was a little kind of crappy single family. We didn't make much on it. We wholesaled it for like $9,000. And then we asked the magic question, which I always tell people to ask. It's so powerful. Do you have anything else to sell? Right? It's just simple, super simple. You won't realize that a lot of these people are open to selling other properties, but they won't say anything until you ask them. So the guy was like, yeah, actually, listen, I live in Texas. I have this 5-unit apartment building, it was in Tallahassee, Florida. He's like, I don't have a management company. 3 of the 5 units are vacant. It needs work. And this is towards the end of the year where we built up a lot of profit. So we're sitting on cash, right? So obviously from there on, we negotiated a good price and we locked it up and we bought it.
That's awesome. And so now you're a landlord. And so this is what I always try to tell wholesalers is, hey, if someone else is buying it with your spread, there's more money to be made on that deal. And if you can just partner with those buyers or find a way to get your money, like you've already recognized how to find good deals, now you got to start acquiring them yourself. So bring us to speed to today. What are you working on?
I am 25 years old right now. Okay. So my wholesaling company has grown a lot, even since, within the past 2 years, where we do over $100,000 a month. We're doing a lot of that, but then we kind of added in, okay, let's try to keep some. Let's try to flip some ourselves, right? So we went on to buy another duplex. We went to buy an 8-unit apartment building. We went to buy another 5 duplexes in a package deal. We have a multi-million-dollar brownstone flip going on right now. We own another few, I think maybe $1.5 or $2 million worth of real estate that we've acquired and that we're flipping on the market right now. So we kind of diversified, and the nucleus of it all is wholesaling, because that's how you're getting the leads and finding the deals. And then you choose, okay, is this one in an area that I don't love too much, or is the spread too small? Cool, we'll wholesale that. Does this one fit better for a flip? Is the potential profit really big? Awesome, let's keep it and let's flip it ourselves. Is this a long-term hold? Cool, let's keep it and we'll rent it out. So that's kind of what we're doing now. And I think that's the best thing to do.
So right now, I feel like people might want to say, how do I get on your buyers list, or bringing me these deals? The best way is to actually get with me on social media. Yeah, so my Instagram, the Jordan Santiago. On Twitter, it's the J Santiago. That's the best way. I mean, I make some great connections through social media. I've made a lot of money with people through social media. So if you are interested in getting these deals sent to you, feel free to reach out. I always answer everyone. Real estate is pretty much a networking game. Networking to find the deals is one. Networking to find the best contractor and the best mortgage lender and the best closing attorney. It's all a people touching and outreach and networking. So social media does a great job of that right now, which is how we met over social media.
Exactly.
So yes, go follow Jordan on social media. That's where I met him. And we're talking real estate every single day. You can also follow me at Real Estate Maxi. But I wouldn't let Jordan leave without still poking him on a little bit more info. What can wannabe wholesalers, people who want to start right now, what are some extra tips that you can give them?
A lot of people start in wholesaling because it's such a good stepping stone to get into real estate. I mean, I really, really do recommend it because it teaches you so many valuable things. I always say it teaches you 2 skills, right? Finding off-market properties and finding discounted deals. And if you do that, you will make money in real estate forever, whether that's in single family or whether that's in apartment complexes, commercial deals, whatever, right? So if you are in a situation where you are filled with time, hustle, you're hungry, but you don't have a lot of money, the best thing for you to do is, first of all, understand the basics. Understand what a wholesale deal looks like and what it needs to look like, right? Again, getting that property at a discount, how to run comps, and things like that. And then you have to find out free or cheap ways to get these leads, right? There's things like driving for dollars, where you're really just driving around and you're looking for properties that look beat up, right? They look vacant, they're boarded up, the grass is high, the mailbox is full, the roof is falling apart, and you write down all those addresses. And that's such an underrated way, because when you're driving, you don't really notice those things, right? But when you're looking for them, you're like, wow, I could write down 50 addresses within 3 hours. So that is such a good way. So you could drive for dollars, you can door knock, you could do the Craigslist thing that I did, you could JV with other wholesalers, which is probably the easiest way, which again, how I got my first deal. Hey, you have a deal? Cool. You could cold call, which again is a hustle, it's a numbers game, but it's relatively cheap or inexpensive, and one of the best ways to get into real estate. So as long as you have that hustle, you're good.
Is there any legalities that you have to watch, or gray areas wholesaling?
No, wholesaling is completely legal. I forgot which state it was. I think it might have been in Illinois. They're coming up with a law that you might have to have a real estate license to wholesale, but everywhere else, it's fair game, because again, you're just assigning a contract. That's what wholesaling is. And the assignment clause is almost in every single real estate contract that you could see, at least in the smaller residential space.
All right, real estate maxis, if you're liking this method of real estate wholesaling, or if you find yourself in a similar place that you're broke, well, guess what? At realestatemaxi.com, I now have the broke method to real estate investing. I specifically made a course that covers over 25 different strategies to buy real estate when you're broke, when you don't have the funds. Because here's the secret you might not know. At every point of an investor's life, you're eventually going to be broke because you found another good deal. You put all your money into it, but then you keep finding another good deal, because this is a skill set that you've acquired and you've honed over time. And even to this day, 22 years in, my 7 most recent properties, I had to use my broke method to purchase the properties, which is going out to other investors, other partners, to move forward on a deal that I found exciting. So you really need to learn these skills. It's counterintuitive, but if you're successful enough, you'll be constantly broke as a real estate investor and constantly learning how to do deals without having the funds. Wholesaling is just one of 25 strategies that I teach over at realestatemaxi.com. Please check it out. I think you're going to find one that works for you.
I just think, like anyone getting into real estate in general, whether that's wholesaling, whether that's flipping, whether that's buy and hold, the consistency aspect of it is so freaking important. Okay, so that $100,000 that wholesaler made, he may have went through deal to finally get to something like that. He might have been making $2, $3, $4,000 on all those deals before, and then he walked into that grand slam, right? We just made $72,000 on a deal in Delaware, which I've never done a deal in, but a lead came in from there, and that's a home run. It's just a home run. It's a quick $72,000.
I guess when you're analyzing the deal, let's say you look at a deal, it's $100,000. Your comps are showing it's $200,000. How do you know if you're going to wholesale it to another person? Where do you put your fee on that?
Good question. So when you're new, this could be much harder because you kind of don't understand how transactions work, right? Alan, you and I both know, there's closing costs, there's holding costs, there's financing costs. There's a lot of things that go into buying property, right? And a lot of wholesalers don't understand that, which it's not your fault. We just got to get a little more educated and experienced. So I think everyone should have, first of all, an assignment fee goal. So my assignment fee goal is I try to make $20,000 on every one. That doesn't mean I need to. It means I'm shooting for that. And if I want to add that on, that means I need to get at a price where adding that $20,000 on makes sense. That's not to say if someone, we're closing on a deal where we're making $4,500 next week. That's not my goal, but we shot for it and we missed a little, okay? But again, at that spread, it makes sense for the buyer. At $20,000 on top, it didn't make sense. At $4,500 on top, it did. But once you start to realize and kind of get familiar with renovation and construction costs, it becomes a much easier process, but a good formula to always go by, where it's not always exact, but it always gets you in the ballpark, and it'll always make sure you're at a low enough offer at least. You can come up from this offer, but it'll make sure that you're low enough. And that's the 70% rule, which is you find out the ARV by running comps, say that's $200,000. You times that by 70%. So after you get that number, you minus what you think the repairs are, and then you minus your assignment fee.
So there you have it, a deep dive on wholesaling. Jordan Santiago, follow him on Twitter at the J Santiago, and follow me while you're there as well, Real Estate Maxi. But Jordan has proven that you don't have to be of a certain age or a certain skill set, of a certain background to succeed in real estate. It just takes discipline and consistency. And for the listeners sticking around for the special offer that I mentioned at the top of the show, I want your reviews. Take a screenshot of the review that you wrote, my podcast review. It doesn't even have to be a good review, just an honest review. Take a screenshot, send it to marketing at CoreyRealEstate.com, COREY realestate.com. Just send us a screenshot of it. You're entered into a contest to get a free House Fire book, which I'll autograph and mail your way. House Fire, Financial Independence, Retire Early, just for your honest podcast review. So keep making those reviews and sending them our way, and you'll be entered into a book giveaway. Jordan, thanks for being on the show. Thanks for listening to Real Estate Maximalist, and I'll see you next week. All right, it's the after party of Real Estate Maximalist. I don't know what that means. Just having some fun, talking about things maybe not related with real estate. What's on my mind, what's happening is Twitter. Super jazzed with what's happened with Twitter for me this week. Devin Kennard, NFL player, followed me. Give me a shout out. Grant Cardone, Mr. 10X himself, give me a shout out as well on Twitter, and give me a follow. Both those guys followed me as well. So this is networking on a national level. You throw yourself out there, and I completely sucked at social media. I started January 1st, 2022 with an effort to be good on social media. Totally shit the bed on TikTok, I feel like, on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. I sucked at it. I think in the last 2 months, I've sort of got the hang of it, you know. And it brings me back to when I did stand-up comedy. I would stand on a stage, tell a joke, you get instant feedback, whether it was a good joke or not, right? It's either crickets, sometimes boos, a few times a hissing. I actually had people hiss at me. Hiss on a joke. Well, you get feedback really quickly whether that joke worked or not. So then you tweak and you get your reps in, right? The next, perform on another stage an hour later, you tweak the joke until you get it, and then you keep tweaking, and eventually you got a solid material out of it. That's what Twitter does for me. You instantly know whether this hit or miss. Your comments, good or bad, I get in my reps in quickly on what makes good content. And also what obviously certain words or phrases people don't react to very well. So a lot of times the critiquing or even the liking, right? But I'm someone who likes the negative feedback. I feel like I learn more with the negative feedback than the positive feedback. Outside of that, what else is happening in my world? Just sort of learning the ropes, podcasting. I'm learning everything. I'm still learning real estate. So I'm here to share all everything I'm going through and just trying to see where it goes. So a little lighthearted after party here, sharing some thoughts, not necessarily real estate related, and making some great networking, some great new connections online. And let's see where it goes, and hopefully not get any hissing comments on Twitter. Man, yeah, that hissing really got to me. It was actually the first time my dad watched me do stand-up. I told some joke. I don't even remember the joke. It had something to do, I feel like, with a vulgar word. Something to do with vaginas. An old lady hissed me who was sitting next to my dad in the comedy club. So I'm But also I was a terrible comedian, so I deserved it. No doubt I deserved it. Okay. Chat with you later, guys. Have fun.